I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this shit. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
There are many non-horror movies that include scenes that can be terrifying, unsettling, or deeply suspenseful. Here are 15 scenes from non-horror movies that genuinely terrified people. The ED-209 introduction scene from the 1987 movie ROBOCOP is indeed considered one of the most shocking and horrifying scenes from a non-horror film. This moment of extreme violence and malfunction in what is expected to be a controlled corporate environment disrupts the viewer's expectations and creates a lasting, terrifying impression.
You now have 15 seconds to comply. You are in direct violation of Penal Code 113, Section 9. I am now authorized to use physical force.
While the film isn't classified as a horror movie, director Paul Verhoeven employs horror movie techniques in this scene. The malfunctioning ED-209 evokes the same fear as a mindless, unstoppable killing machine, much like the classic horror movie monster.
I'm sure it's only a glitch. A temporary setback.
You call this a glitch?
The basement scene from the 2009 movie The Road is terrifying because it reveals the darkest depths of human survival instincts and the utter degradation of civilization and morality. It plays on several deep-seated fears, like the fear of confinement or claustrophobia, the fear of being hunted or trapped, and the fear of cannibalism. The 2013 Gravity is a gripping film that captures the terrifying emptiness and dangerous unpredictability of space. The detached scene at the beginning of the movie is a prime example of this.
Houston, I lost visual, Dr. Stone.
This scene is terrifying for a number of reasons. Firstly, it taps into a number of deep-seated fears, like the fear of falling, the fear of vast empty spaces, and the fear of being alone or autophobia. The suddenness of the disaster and the high-stakes scramble for survival that follows creates an atmosphere of horror-like intensity and dread.
I can't breathe! I can't breathe!
The BURJ KHALIFA scene in the 2011 Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol is indeed a particularly tense sequence that may instill fear in viewers, especially those with the fear of heights or acrophobia. In this scene, director Brad Bird uses a variety of techniques to create a sense of extreme vertigo and tension. For example, he uses aerial and point-of-view shots to emphasize the dizzying height and the precariousness of Ethan's situation. Even though the movie is an action thriller, scenes like the BURJ KHALIFA climb can be as anxiety-inducing and terrifying as moments in horror films, due to their ability to tap into real-life fears. The 2015 movie In the Heart of the Sea is primarily an adventure drama, but there are several scenes involving the sperm whale that can be quite intense and terrifying. One of these is the scene when the gigantic whale wags its tail, creating a wave that capsizes the whaling ship Essex. Additionally, the scene plays into the fear of large sea creatures known as megalohydrothalassophobia and the fear of the open ocean. In the 2004 film The Day After Tomorrow, it showcases several large-scale disaster sequences, including hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes. One of the most intense scenes in the film is when multiple tornadoes simultaneously form over Los Angeles. The scene captures the chaos and terrors as the tornadoes tear throughout the city, destroying buildings, tossing cars, and creating mass panic.
Are you getting this on camera? That this tornado just came and erased the Hollywood sign. The Hollywood sign is gone. It's just shredded.
This scene can be particularly terrifying for those who have fear of tornadoes or natural disasters in general. The realistic depiction of deadly weather phenomena and the consequential human peril can indeed evoke a sense of terror, comparable to that found in horror movies. The ant scene from the 2008 Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is a moment that can be quite terrifying, even though the film itself is not classified as a horror movie. While the depiction of the ants in the film is exaggerated for dramatic, the scene plays on several common fears that many people share, such as the fear of insects, the fear of swarms, and the fear of being eaten alive. In the 2022 movie The Sea Beast, there's a scene that is quite terrifying, even though it's just an animated adventure film. In this scene, Jacob and Macy fell into the ocean and encounter Red, a dragon-like creature in the deep sea. Even though The Sea Beast isn't a horror movie, they can make certain scenes as horrifying as scenes from traditional horror movies, especially for those who have thalassophobia or fear of the ocean. The giant wave scene from the 2014 movie Interstellar is indeed terrifying as it plays on multiple fears.
Those aren't mountains. They're waves.
While Interstellar is a science fiction film, the scene taps into primal fears and uses elements typically associated with horror films to create a sense of terror. The immense scale of the wave, the life-threatening situation, and the race against time all contribute to making this scene as terrifying as those in horror movies. The plane crash sequence from the 2011 movie The Grey is indeed terrifying due to its realism and visceral nature.
Hey guys, do yourself a favor. Don't do that head between your knees crash position shit if this goes down.
It's filmed in a way that immerses the audience in the chaos and confusion with quick cuts, shaky camera work, and overwhelming sound design that replicates the cacophony of a real crash. It taps into fears many people have, such as aviophobia or the fear of flying and the fear of catastrophic accidents. The 1998 Deep Impact is a film that explores what would happen if a comet were on a collision course with Earth.
Our missiles have failed. The comets are still headed for Earth, and there's nothing we can do to stop them.
There are several scenes in the movie that could be considered as terrifying as any horror movie. One such scene is the climax, where the comet fragments impact Earth. Despite the efforts of a team of astronauts, one large piece of the comet strikes the Atlantic Ocean, causing a mega tsunami. This taps into the fear of large bodies of water and the fear of cataclysmic disasters.
Daddy.
The 2005 movie King Kong has several sequences involving giant insects and other creepy crawlies that can be extremely unsettling, especially for viewers who have fear of insects and claustrophobia. The intense close-ups of the creatures, the panicked reactions of the characters, and the sheer overwhelming number of the creatures all add to the horror atmosphere. Even though King Kong is primarily an action-adventure film, these film sequences borrow heavily from the horror genre, amplifying the stakes and making the dangers of Skull Island feel even more nightmarish. The 2009 movie 2012 is a film that presents a dramatic end of the world scenario based on the belief that the ancient Mayan calendar, which predicted the end of the world in year 2012. One of the most terrifying scenes in the film is the eruption of the Yellowstone supervolcano. What makes this scene particularly terrifying is not just due to its intense cinematic depiction, but also because it's based on a real geological feature that could potentially erupt. The scene taps into the fear of natural disasters, in this case specifically volcanophobia, and the fear of being pursued or chased. In the 1993 movie Cliffhanger, there's a scene in the movie that is quite terrifying even though it's supposed to be an action thriller rather than a horror film. In the scene, the lead character played by Sylvester Stallone attempts to rescue Sarah from a harness after their wire crossing in the mountains failed.
Okay, please don't let me fall. Please, I don't want to die. You're not gonna die. Don't let me.
Even though Cliffhanger is not a horror movie, the realistic portrayal of a horrifying situation can make certain scenes as terrifying as traditional horror movies, especially for those who have acrophobia or fear of heights. The 2010 movie Hereafter, directed by Clint Eastwood, is a drama film that intertwines three separate story arcs, all related to death and the afterlife. The film opens with an intensely realistic depiction of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, considered one of the most realistic and terrifying representations of a tsunami in film history. Even though Hereafter is not a horror movie by definition, the realistic depiction of the tsunami and its aftermath in the opening scene can instill a level of fear and terror that rivals many scenes from traditional horror films. Which of these scenes scared you the most? Let us know in the comments below.